Hey everybody, what's up? Chad Wesley Smith here. I want to give you a bit of an insight to what I'm doing training wise right now. I'm organizing my training, lifting and jiu-jitsu together. Been getting asked a ton, how do I combine powerlifting and jiu-jitsu? That is not what I'm about to talk about. I'm going to talk about how I'm combining my lifting for jiu-jitsu to complement my jiu-jitsu training. Some of these ideas will still apply to how you would combine competitive powerlifting with training for jiu-jitsu, but that's a bit of a different topic, a bigger topic, something that gets more to what is your priority. If your priority is to be both the best jiu-jitsu competitor you can be and the best powerlifter you can be, it's a really tough goal, and a lot of considerations would need to be made. But a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about, it will still apply to that, though I'm not speaking specifically about powerlifting training, rather the training I'm doing to enhance my jiu-jitsu performance. So rolled for about 2 hours this morning. The way my week is currently set up, I think today I'm 8.5 weeks out from IBJJF World Championships, 2 weeks past Pan Ams. So right now I'm in the middle of a 4-week, 4+1 block of strength training with alactic capacity training to follow that up. In the future, we'll move into more of a power phase with the weights and lactic capacity for energy system training. You can learn more about that stuff in my Sport Performance Pillars series, so go check that out. As to build on the ideas from the Sport Performance Pillar series, I'm trying to utilize some high-low sequencing in this. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, those are my high days of training. That's my hardest rolling, which I do in the morning, and then come back in the afternoon and evening and do my most intense lifting, which is just on a push-pull split right now. So first day, push, which for me is bench and belt squat, then my alactic capacity circuit. Next lifting day, pull, trap bar deadlift, pen lay rows, another alactic capacity circuit. Then come back another push, then pull, push, pull, just alternating Monday, Wednesday, Friday lifting after my most intensive jiu-jitsu training. Then on the other days, Tuesdays and Thursdays, are my low days or lower days. So I'm doing some extra cardio, aerobic capacity work in the mornings via tempo intervals, either on the bike or the rower with a jump rope, usually going for 45 seconds to a minute on whichever one of those efforts, interspersed with abs, little smaller corrective exercises, stuff to make sure I stay healthy, and maybe some accessory weights like shoulders and arms type of training, really just kind of depending on how beat up my arms feel from the jiu-jitsu training. And then those Tuesday and Thursday evenings, train jiu-jitsu again, a little bit lower intensity. Do our advanced class at Gracie Baja headquarters in Irvine, and then a little bit of live rolling after that, compared to my Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which is like all live training, hour and a half, 2 hours of that, and really pushing hard with that. If I'm in town Saturday, I might add a competition class, which is gonna be another pretty high day, but no lifting with that, and then Sunday's totally off. So remember, it's important to keep in mind, every day can't be your hardest day. So if you wanna do, if you want to be the best jiu-jitsu competitor you can be, you need to prioritize some days as higher intensity and other days as lower intensity. If you want to combine powerlifting or weightlifting or strongman training in addition to training jiu-jitsu, you need to apply these same ideas. You don't want to put them all on alternating days. Monday can't be your hard jiu-jitsu day, and then Tuesday is your hard squat day, and then Wednesday is hard jiu-jitsu again, and Thursday you're benching really hard, because then every day tries to become a high intensity day, and it leaves no room for recovery built into your schedule. So even though it may seem a little almost counterintuitive to group these high intensity stressors together, like for me, my hardest jiu-jitsu on Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings with my hardest lifting on Monday, Wednesday, Friday evenings, that actually is a better strategy because it allows then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, depending, like I said, if I'm traveling or not, to be reserved for recovery. So you got to do the hard work, but you also have to be able to recover from it. So today you can just kind of follow me through my session. Like I said, right now I'm working on strength with the bench press and belt squat, and then going to do some alactic capacity work, which I'll talk more about when I get to that. You know, I'm coming off umbilical hernia surgery about 2.5 months ago now, so I'm not anywhere near my peak powerlifting numbers, especially not when I was 65 pounds heavier and would have got out of breath from 30 seconds of rolling. Now going in, I think this morning, like I said, it was just 6-minute rounds after 6-minute rounds for about an hour and a half. A little warm up before that, and then my coach Jacob Harmon, every time the round finishes, he likes to throw in, all right, sprint back and forth, or squat jumps, or whatever it is. He's always got something extra and mean for me to do after. But I have different priorities, so I'm not trying to squat 900 pounds right now. Definitely not coming back from a hernia. Plus, that's just not necessary for me to do. So for the people asking about, as you lost weight, did you lose a lot of strength? I mean, yes and no, but I'm not as strong as I was before, but I'm not trying to be as strong as I was before. I just have different goals. I squatted over 900 pounds when I weighed 306. So I know at this body weight, I could definitely be capable of making those big powerlifting numbers. That's just not my priority. If your goal is your best performance in jiu-jitsu, lifting the heaviest weights possible is probably not going to be what gets you there, but you need to do training that's more complementary to that. So even when I bench press today, assuming my elbow holds up, I'm going to go to a pretty heavy set of 5 for what I'm doing right now, but I'm much more concerned with moving the bar explosively, not just the number that we hit, but much more about how I move that weight. So I feel a little bit more like I did when I was throwing the shot put, previous to my powerlifting career, that we got to move heavy shit fast, because when you got to move around some ultra heavy division competitors, you got to move them around fast, and the speed and power components become that much more significant. So the belt squat's been great for me with the jiu-jitsu training because, besides having the umbilical hernia, not really being able to load heavy weights, it's just not a necessary thing for me. I'd squatted 970 pounds. That's probably 400 pounds more than anyone that I would be competing against, so well past the point of diminishing returns. So for me to go in and do squat workouts with 650, 750, it would look cool, but it would take up so much energy, be so fatiguing that it would take away from what I need more, which is more quality rolling. So belt squat, letting me keep good strength stimulus on the legs, not forcing me to brace super hard and aggravate the hernia, plus just overall less fatiguing. So fits in much better in the bigger picture of my training. If you watch the exercise selection and classification video in the sport performance pillars, I'll talk more about those concepts. So one thing for sure on the belt squat, it's a bit tough for me to feel the same technique that I would in a regular barbell squat. Plus, losing weight kind of changed my leverages there as well, so I can't get that same kind of rebound. I feel like I have a tendency for my hips to kick out backwards a little bit more than they would in a regular squat, but because of how the weight's loaded, hanging off the hips, not up on the back, my back isn't moving the weight at all. The legs still got to do all the work. I'm just not keeping it in my quads quite as much as I'd like. And even though this is a push day, I do chin-ups or pull-ups on every intensive training day. It's just that back strength is really important for jiu-jitsu, plus a little bit of grip. Plus, I suck at them. So you need to do them more. You gotta do them more frequently if you suck at them. That kind of back training, I probably neglected a lot during powerlifting. I do some lat pull downs here or there, but never really train my back hard. I don't feel like it has a huge carryover to the power lifts. Like having a strong enough back is important. Having a really strong upper back can turn into a waste of energy because you could have spent that time training more squat, bench, deadlift stuff with higher transfer. But for jiu-jitsu, I feel like it's been definitely a help. So just trying to improve my strength and capacity there. So I do those every session. So the belt squats, even though they kind of look a little funky, I think, to push them heavy, all I'm really looking for is that strength stimulus to the legs. I definitely don't need any more hypertrophy in my legs to be successful in jiu-jitsu. In fact, my legs being so big is probably a detriment for most things. And I've gone against guys 170 pounds, skinny legs, where you feel their feet on your hips in the open guard and their legs feel plenty strong. So that's all I'm really concerned with now, is keeping the strength stimulus in my legs, being a little bit more explosive. I don't want to let my legs get small because that's just not cool. But I think it'll likely be another 4 or 5 months before I put a barbell on my back again to barbell back squat, because at this time, 8 weeks out from Worlds, it's just not worth it to me to possibly have a setback from the hernia, and just not really a necessary thing for my performance. Like I said, it's such a huge strength reserve, particularly in the squat, that it just wouldn't serve me well to spend more energy there. I just have to let Marissa be the one in our relationship that's good at pull-ups. So I'll probably call it there on the bench today. I'm not as so concerned with the numbers overall, more just kind of the feel for the day. That was 165. I would have liked to do 170, but shoulder, elbow, I got cranked on a bit in this morning's training, so I'll go a little bit lighter. That moved well enough. Last heavy one was 155 for 6. Today 165 for 5. Maybe next one 175 or 180 for 4. Just kind of keep trending up that way. Bench press is good for me to just get a good general strength stimulus from that. Not an overly specific exercise to jiu-jitsu, just I know if I'm benching pretty well, then I'm strong, so that's a positive. With my best bench ever, 260 kilos, my best recent bench was in December. I benched 220 kilos for a triple, 484 for a triple. I was training a little bit less jiu-jitsu then. My body weight was a bit higher, like 325, but it's just really a matter of priority. And then when I got the hernia surgery, I had no lifting at all for 3 weeks. And then my 4 weeks after that, I just built up a capacity, again, doing sets of 10 with 100 kilos. So it had been, last week when I did 155 for 6, that was the first time I'd benched over 100 kilos since I had my hernia surgery, which was middle of January. So it'd been a good, 8 or so weeks with no lifting, and then 4 or 5 weeks back into it. So I'm happy with how things are progressing there. The grips and stuff for pull-ups, chin-ups, all that, I kind of just go with most comfortable for me. The double overhand, a pull-up grip is probably a little bit better transfer. It just is tougher on my shoulders. Sometimes I'll bring one of the other handles so I can do a neutral grip. I'll be facing sideways. You could use the rope and try and build up some extra grip strength with that. All good options. For me today, just doing the chin-up grip because it's simpler. I don't have to add anything extra. I don't want to try and use the rope for extra grip stuff because my elbow already is bugging, and that'll just aggravate it more probably. All right, so I finished up my strength work. Again, this is a high intensity day. I'm doing this Monday, Wednesday, Friday, following my most intensive BJJ training. So went up to a heavy set of 5 in the bench press, straight sets across in the belt squat, and then some chin-ups to complement that as I do those every intensive session. Now I'm gonna do an alactic capacity circuit. So alactic capacity is really just repeated high-level alactic power bouts with incomplete rest. So depending on your fitness levels, your aerobic capacity levels, how long that rest in between is going to differ, and the later reps of it may not really be as alactic as the first couple ones would be. But the goal is to, however many series you're going to do, that you replicate the same amount of speed and power output in the last set as you did in the first set. Because jiu-jitsu, wrestling similarly to it, is going to be high level output. You shoot for a takedown, for a throw, whatever it is, big scramble, and then you have a bit of rest positions, whether that's inside the guard, top position, just kind of grip fighting. It's not a total rest like you'd have in between plays in a football game, but it's sort of active rest. So the way that this capacity circuit is going to be set up is I'm going to do 4 different exercises. Each time I do this 3 times a week, I do some push type of exercise, some jumping exercise, a pulling exercise, and a twisting exercise. The specific exercises that you fit into those categories is going to be determined by you, your sport, the style. If you're doing this for jiu-jitsu, like what your style of game is. There could be stuff where you're training more from your back if you're a guard player. you need to make it specific to you, but those movement categories tend to be pretty good. Carrying exercises could be another good one to fit in, but that doesn't work quite as well with the nature of this alactic capacity, where we're looking for high level output, 5 to 6 seconds of work, and then I'm gonna be doing this interspersed by just 10-second rest periods. So I'm gonna do, like this first one will be 3 clapping push-ups, which takes about 4 or 4.5 seconds. Then I'll rest about 10 seconds. I just set a timer for 5 seconds on, 10 seconds off. It's averaging out to be close enough. And today I'll do that for 6 rounds. And I'll rest 1 minute, go to my next exercise for 6 rounds. Last week it was 5 rounds, 6 rounds this week, 7, 8, just increasing capacity, small jumps from week to week. And then as we get further down the road, I'll transition into a lactic capacity training. But you always want to focus on the power first, because it really doesn't matter how long you can sustain a low level effort or sustain a specific effort if that effort isn't powerful enough to get done what you need to get done in your sport. So whatever sport it is, go check out our energy system training video in my Sport Performance Pillar series if you want to learn more about this. So every time I include a explosive pushing exercise, clapping push-ups, one-handed like med ball switch push-ups, one hand on the med ball, one hand on the ground, explode, switch sides, push-ups on a box. You could do exercise I call a press, hip escape and press, where you're laying on your back, you have a landmine set up across you and you hip escape as you press it away from you. Just looking for explosive pushing movements. These are all going to fall into probably special preparatory exercises. You could get into some special developmental exercises in this type of circuit as well. So again, every week I include a jumping exercise, or every session. That could be kettlebell squat jumps, lateral skier jumps, lunge split jumps, box jumps, whatever it is, be an explosive hip extension exercise. That's gonna be a good option. You can do banded kettlebell swings, a lot of good options available. So that's my pulling exercise for today. I'm just switching the top hand, trying to be as explosive as possible in those pulls. You know, you could hang a gi and pull on the collar and sleeve for a similar type of effect, maybe a little bit more transfer. You know, I've had lighter athletes do these with one hand, way back, pull themselves up with one arm. Clapping pull-ups, bar muscle-ups could be a good option there. A lot of different choices. Just kind of depends on, you know, how strong, relatively strong the athlete is, what their qualification is. All right, that was the last one. That was my twisting exercise. Twisting med ball slam. You could do barbell twist, sandbag twist, heavy rotational med ball throws. A lot of good options. Again, I was working push, pull, jump, twist, really good foundational movement patterns, and alactic capacity circuit. So we're looking for all out effort, 4 to 6 seconds, 10, could go out to like 20 seconds rest depending on your aerobic capacity. I know I sound very in shape right now, but the way that you really want to gauge that is if you can make the last set as powerful as the first set. That's the rest period you're looking for, and trying to push that harder and harder. That's kind of a look at what my training looks like right now. I'll follow up in my next block and update you then. Let me know what questions you have down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Everyday pojada. But not everyday maximum pojada. Sometimes high pojada, sometimes low pojada. Wouldn't make as good of a shirt though. That's my ice stick. That's an important part. So this is just like a regular chest freezer. This is 14.2 cubic feet. just sits here in the backyard, and instead of freezing meat in it, I freeze myself. It's cold, 32.9 degrees, 33 degrees. It's getting a little warmer. All right. So it's cold, it's icy. You know, I typically, the night before, if I'm gonna do it in the morning, then the night before I'll plug it in, let it ice up a little bit, or since it's more in the afternoon today, just plugged it in when I woke up this morning. So a good bit of ice in there. Right now I'm using this twice a week. Go ahead and hop in there. Oh, it's gonna be brisk. Woo! That's the real cold part. It's the nuts. All right, so I'll be in here for about 15 minutes. Said right now I use this twice a week. Wednesday afternoons and then Sundays. So right now I'm past the halfway point of my really hard training for the week. Had very hard training Monday, moderate training on Tuesday, very hard training again today. If you've read Recovering from Training or watched our videos on recovery adaptation strategies with Dr. James Hoffman, or our Jug Life episode about that, we talk about how temperature therapy, like the ice bath, can actually interfere with training adaptations. And that's definitely true. Where it interferes, though, are in muscular adaptations. And yeah, well, I just came out of the weight room, and I am trying to make, muscular and energy system improvements to what I'm doing. The most important thing for me to improve at jiu-jitsu right now is to make technical adaptations, which this is not going to interfere with. In fact, it is going to allow me to do more training by enhancing my recovery, removing some inflammation, having some sort of odd relaxation therapeutic effects, even as I freeze my nips off here. But the most important thing it's going to do is allow me to do more training, which is probably the most important thing for my improvement right now. So if you're using ice baths for powerlifting or weightlifting strongman, I would suggest that you keep those to deload weeks or tapers right before competition. But if you're an in-season football player and the most important thing for you is to feel ready to play on Friday night, Saturday, or Sunday, then ice bath it up as much as you need to, because at that point it's not about the muscular adaptations, which in that in-season time is going to make you improve. It's about technical adaptations, and the more quality practice that you can get done, the more technical adaptations you're going to be able to make. So thanks for hanging out with me today, watching my training. Hopefully you got some ideas to help you with your own. Make sure to check out Sport Performance Pillars series. If you want to learn more about all this stuff, subscribe to the Juggernaut YouTube channel, and I'll see you next time.